Thank you, everybody. Now we have a co-host for the session also, and she would manage the rest, and I would again concentrate on the basic lecture part of it. Yeah, thank you. We just continue. So now, when it is told, this is what is Charak Vagbhat wants to say about Srotansi. He makes it very simple. Charak goes into the details because he is a person of Kaya Chikitsa. So when we want to understand the Hetutva, when we need to understand the Lakshana and the Chikitsa, then it comes under details of Kaya Chikitsa, where we have to go into the details, much details of it, with Charak Viman Adhyay 5th. So I had just to give you an introduction of the same. You need not be buzzed up that it is too much of because generally what happens that things which are not familiar to us, especially with the Grantha or Sanskrit, then we try to run away from it. But here you have to understand what I mean to make it very clear from the beginnings, that approaching Samhitas, approaching Granthas for the complete meaning or the complete understanding of the subject is the motivation or the key point which we want to address in Subodhini. So we have to understand that Granthas are Guru. So anything that you have a question, or anything you have a query, or anything that you have to quote as a reference with, you have always to go to the main Samhitas, Charak, Sushruta and Vagbhata. So Bruhatrayi is going to be the basics of our study. We have not to run away from it. Again and again going through the text will make us acquainted with the facts of Bruhatrayi, and so our thoughts or our concepts will be clarified. So maybe few of you have learned about Srotasa before in the classes. Few are very much new to it. Few have heard something of it of a different type. Let us see what Vagbhat wants to say. So he makes it very simple into 8 to 10 sutras, and can say this is for first year, as with the Prasad sir told that we are in KG or in the preliminaries. So we have to understand very simple things like what is Srotasa. So there are 10 Bahirmukha Srotasa. So Nasika, Karna, Netra, then Payu, Asya and Mehana. Asya is Mukha and Mehana is the genital organ. And there is also Sthana, the breast. Then there is Yoni Marga, that is the uterus. These are the three. These two of Sthana and Yoni Marga. These are additional in females. Now in very small term, Vagbhata has explained that Jivitayatana. What are the Jivitayatana? Jivitayatana is prana, that is Jivit. Prana is Shakti, prana is the Vayu, Prakara of Vayu. And all the Ayatana is Marga. So what are the Jivitayatana? Prana, Udaka, that is water, Anna, that is food. These Jivitayatana are basically the systems in the body or the Srotasa. Apart from that, there are all different types of Dhatu, Mala, Prana, Anna, Vahini, Ambu, all these things. So with Dosha, Dhatu and Mala. Dosha, Srotasa, we know that they are all over the body. So you can't say that this is Pranava Srotas, this is Kaphava Srotas, or this is Pittava Srotas. No, they are complete part of the body. So these, as to get into the basics, as last time what Prasad sir told in the lecture, these are fundamental or they are functional units of the entities of the body. And Srotasas, once we start knowing about, these are structural units. So we are learning into the structural units. So every Srotasa, maybe it is Pranava Srotas, maybe it is Annava Srotas, will be composite of Vat Pitta Kapha. So Vat Pitta Kapha would be there from every cell to every nanoparticle. But to name, there are 13 Srotasas, of which Pranava Srotas is one, Annava Srotas is another, Udakoha is one, and then of the Sapta Dhatu, Rasa, Rakta, Maunsa, Meda, Asthi, Majja and Shukra. Now again, then we have to understand that how does, if we say that it is something to flow, then Asthiva Srotas also, how does it have, because it is a Sthira Dhatu, how does it have a Srotas? Yes, it does also have a Srotasa, because the Poshana or the nourishment of Astiva Srotasa is also done, and there is a channeling in all of those. We would come to that part later also. So Astiva Srotas, Majja and Shukra. And then Purishava Srotas, Mutrava Srotas, Svedava Srotas are there. So in all, we would be learning about 13 Srotas in all. Now here I've just put a picture of the cosmos. So as we know that there are many cosmos, no? That of which one cosmic part is of about the earth, what we know. And whatever is in the cosmos is in the cosmic. For example, whatever is in the loka is in the Purusha. So we have to see to it that Srotasas are also such part. So whatever we see outside, we see the rivers, we see the plants being fed for a long period. We don't see a river anywhere, we don't see water supply, but the roots of the plants, they go deep into the soil, fetch water for themselves and nourish themselves. Similarly, the srotasas are also deep rooted into the body. So many times we are so much now into the structural part that unless and until we see, we don't believe. So let us wipe out this concept that whatever we see only is important. We have to understand the different pramanas, like Yukti Pramana is there, Apta Pramana is there. We have just Pratyaksha is there, that for true, but also the other pramanas are important. So what are these srotasas important for? It is said that Ahita Sevanat. So all these srotasas, Tani Dushtani Rogaya, Vishuddhani Sukhaya Cha. Now, first of all, in first year, when we understand about the Swastha Vritta more, second year also we would be learning about the topic of Swastha Vritta. But understanding Swastha Vritta makes us understand about the Vikruti Vidyan best. Or sometimes the reverse is also true. Sometimes it happens that we understand Vikruti and we understand the Prakriti better. For example, when we understand see a patient of paralysis where his hand or leg is not moving, then we understand what is the importance of Vayu that it holds. When there is trembling too much in a Parkinson's patient, then we understand what is the Chala Guna and the Ati Yoga of Chala. So similarly, we have to understand that these Srotasas are healthier when everything is normal. But if we take into Ahita Sevana, that is, we take into different causative mechanisms, then the Srotasas or Dhatus or Doshas are Dushta, which make the Srotasa Dushta, and that is the whole concept why Srotasas are to be understood. How are these Srotasas? These Srotasas are Swadhatu Samavarnani. So the word itself is self-explanatory. Swadhatu, every Srotasa would represent like its own Dhatu, will be made of that. It is again Vrutta, Sthula, Anunicha. Vrutta, that is to be elongated. Sthula is it is bigger, grande, and Anunicha, it is very small. So these are circular in matter. Sometimes they are very bigger and they are deep rooted. That is how these Srotasas are. Srotansi dirghana krutya pratana sadrushanicha. How are these Srotasas? They are dirgha. What is the akruti of the Srotas? Dirghani akrutyaha. So the akruti or the structure is like it's big. So it is not like confined to one joint from one joint to another. No, they are running from the peripheries or the extremities to the center, and from the center to extremity, from the head to the tip of the foot. It is everywhere that the Srotasas are expanded. So these are dirgha akrutyaha, and sometimes they are pratana sadrushani. Pratana sadrushani, pratana is like tendon. So they would be elongated and structure of such a kind. So these are just explanations what he wants to say about Srotasa in general. Because Vagbhata goes into being a Madhyam Dharmi of Charak and Sushruta. He would explain in basics. Now, how do we see Srotasas? Like Aharasya Viharasya Yasya Dosho Gunai Sama Dhatubir Vigunayasya Srotasam Sa Pradushakaha. So now this is what I thought it's a camouflage of a man sitting into the bark of a tree. Similar are the Viguna Dhatus. Whatever food we are going to take, whatever vihara we are going to take, similar are going to be the dosha guna in our body. And if we have a good apatyakar or a good ahar and vihara balance between both, the dhatus or the doshas will be of sama, will be in equilibrium. And dhatu or also will be of the same gunas as per our Agni would digest them. And in these only, the hetuttvas is hidden inside. Suppose, for example, we take a very simple example, that it is said that if a person consumes hot and cold simultaneously, that is, he is taking hot something as a substance, and immediately he takes shita, that is called as ushna shita or shita ushna abhyasa. Where so what is a person going to take? He is going to take something like hot thing, like hot water, and immediately take ice cream over it. So if there is a krama sevana, that like immediately a person is going to take hot and cold things, then the srotasas of sweat or sweda are going to be pradushta. That is the that is explained in Svedava Srotas, Dushti Lakshana, Dushti Hetus. Now, these Hetutva, if consumed for a long period, suppose a period, you take such Hetus being taken for a longer period, maybe for 6 months, 3 months or something, or years together, then what happens, that such Vigunatva or such mechanism or such Hetu would Viguna the dusha or viguna the dhatu of that particular person, and they would be sneaking inside the srotasa itself. And whenever they would get good atmosphere of creating a disease, they would just come out. Like this person is sitting into the bark of a tree, and he is a camouflage, and he has kept himself inside. And when he finds something as a prey, he would immediately pounce upon and come out. As we see into good pictures like Hollywood or even Tollywood or Indian films, no? We find that they are this could be in a shootout in the jungle, and he would hide himself. And if he gets a prey, he would pounce upon. If he gets an enemy, he would attack. Similarly, is what is happening in the body with Sroto Dushti. Now, how is this happening? Sometimes we see that there is Ati Pravrutti. So what happens that like Srotasas, you would find that there is collection of Hetu and Lakshana or Hetu and the Viguna Dosha inside the Srotasa, and it goes continuously, and it goes Ati Pravartan, and it flows out of the Srotasa. And sometimes it happens that while flowing through it, at the banks of the Srotasa or at the banks of the tube, there is collection of these Srotasa, as we say of the Dushta Dhatu. So here there is Ati Pravrutti. Sometimes this collection may create a Sangha like this. There is a blockage that can be created by consumption of things. For example, it is said that Abhidadhi is Abhishanda. Abhishanda means it blocks the channel. Continuous consumption of Dadhi sometimes block the channels and creates such a phenomenon in the Srotasas. So this is also due to this is also Srotodushti. Sometimes it becomes, what does the Srotas becomes? It becomes like, instead of becoming a tube, it becomes a Granthi, that is a collection. It happens. And so here you can find there is some collection into the Srotasa or into the muscle. Here, for example, we have used. And sometimes we find they go Vimargaga. Vimargaga means going out of the system into another system. So it leaves its own channel and goes into somewhere other channel. So these are 4 different types of Sroto Dushti Lakshana. First, it is Ati Pravrutti, then there is Sangha, then there is Siranam Granthayopiva and Vimargato Vagamanam. This is the 4th Sroto Dushti Lakshana. So what we saw, it is like, what are the different areas? What is Srotasa? What does the Srotasa carry? How are they? What is the importance of Srotasa? That Srotasa, if are do not consume ahitakar sevan, then they are swastha. If they consume hitakar or they consume things which are healthier, they would stay healthy. And if they consume things which are ahitakar, they would create roga, dushtani rogayacha. And the Srotasas, there are types, and this is what is Srotasas are made for. Aharasya viharasya yasya dosha gunai sama dhatubir vigunasya Srotasam sa pradushaka. And what does it happen then? It happens like this is the Vyakti or the creation of the disease. It is Ati Pravrutti, there is Sangha, there is Siranam Granthayopiva, and sometimes there is Vimaragatovagamanam. And these are the four types of pathology that takes place with the Srotasa or in the body. Now, Bisanamiva Sukshmani Duram Privrusrutani cha Dwarani Srutsam Dehe Rasayer Upachiyete. This is a very important sutra again. Now, here there is Bisanamiva Sukshmani. Like they say that the lotus plant, it has Pratana Sadrushanita. It is like what does the lotus has? It has roots which are going deep into the pond of water, and they collect too much of what happens at the base of the roots. They become more swollen and become harder and harder and tough and very stronger. That makes them light to float on the water, but hold in maximum of the nourishment for the plant. So now the Bisa is about the lotus plant. They have Sukshmani and Dura Pravrisurtani. So that is Sukshma, very little, very subtle, and Pravrisurtani. So and long, elongated, and they go deep into the types of roots. And to the base or to the Dwarani or to the Mukha or to the mouth of it has a opening, and there is Rasa Yai Rupachiyate, or there is the essence of all. Similarly, every Srotasa will have its tentacles or will have its parts or its systems going deep into the body. It would be subtle, it would be carrying its own tissues, it would be helping the process of transformation from one part to another, and still it would hold the base that is called Mulasthana. So at the mukha or at the mouth of every Srotasa, there would be the opening of these Srotasas. So that is why in Charak and in Sushruta again, they have explained every Srotasas have Udbhavasthana or Mulasthana. And so if there are 11 Srotasas in Sushruta, there were 22 openings. And similarly in Charak Samhita, there are 13 Srotasa, of which there are similar two. He doesn't confine to just saying Do Mula. In Sushruta, it is said that there are Do Mula, but in Charaka, he has explained that Mula. So every Srotasa has Mulas or the Prabhavasthana, like that of the lotus tree. Now, what happens when there is a Vyadha, or there is an impact, or there is a trauma on any Srotasa is explained next. And just one more picture I have shared here. We see plants that are growing everywhere, and there are good amount of plants that are near to the river bank also. But we know that there are water tables below the soil, and they do pump in or they do nourish to plants where there is no water supply immediately. So there you would see that there are plants which grow on the tabletop, but their roots do fetch water from the water table, which is much and much below to the expectations of ours. So every top we see at the top of the mountains also, you would see trees climbing up, being over there with their roots being deep rooted below the mountains also. So this is what similarly that the Srotasas are in the body. Every Srotasa will have its deep rootedness for nourishment, for transformation, for transport of substances of its. Now, if there is an impact or trauma on this, what would happen? So it is said, Vyadhe tu Srotasam moha. Vyadhe is a trauma, or if you hit a Srotasa or the Srotasa is cut or broken apart, what would happen? There would be moha. There was one thing that you would moha, kampa, admana, vami, jwara. Then there is pralapa, shula, vinmutra, rodha, maranameva. So this is the lakshanas of Sroto Vyadha. Vyadha is hit if the Srotasa is hit or has a trauma on, then there is Kampa, there is Moha, there is Adhamana, Vami, Jwara. Now let us see one by one what are the important concepts of it. What are these terminologies? Moha is a word which is generally used when you don't know what is to be done. So don't understand what is going around you. You can't make a proper judgment, or your buddhi does go into a trance, and then you can't make a complete decision upon. So it can be said that if a person is hit at a particular, suppose there is an accident, generally for that particular moment his smriti is lost. He understands that there were people around, but how did he feel? He doesn't understand. So this moha comes into the concept, which is a manasik lakshana especially, but the person doesn't understand the uh, social sense of it, the good or bad, and he is not in a position to make any decision. That is moha. Kampa is trembling. You see the patient after a particular trauma or after a particular impact, maybe it is on the head or there is a simple fall or anything, then there might be trembling of the body. So that is that the sthirata of the body is lost and the body goes into trembles or kampa. Admana is bloating. Generally this concept we see that admana, very simple thing we say, that patient says that पोटात गैस झाला है, पेट में गुब्बारा सा आ गया है, ऐसे करके. So admana can be of magnitude that can do even pranavarodha. So sometimes the admana may do akranta or do a casualty upon the heart or the brain or the vital systems of the brain also. So that is also admana to a big gratitude. Then vami is to do vomiting. Generally what happens if there is a head impact and the midline shift is there, what is seen in the MRI, then it is considered as a big thing. But otherwise also, or a patient does vomit with a head injury, immediately the doctors would ask him to do an MRI to understand the swelling, to understand the bleeding internally, to understand the midline shift and all those things. But in Ayurveda it is told that if there is vyadha of any srotasa, these are the lakshanas what would happen. There would be moha, there would be kampa, there would be adman, there would be chardana, vami, and there would be fever, jwaraha. These could be there. Apart from that, jwara is like a simple term. Due to any abghata, there is jwara, because jwara is a reaction of the body to the shock of the adman. Pralapa, the person may just go on speaking without what you could say, without any reference. Then shula, there might be tremendous pain. Vinmutra rodha, there could be constipation or blockage of urine, or he might be having the sensation, but there might not be the pravrutti of mutra and mala. And sometimes this vyadha of a srotas may create marana also. So sroto mrodha maranamevacha. These could be the lakshanas of sroto vyadha. So now, in a very simple thing, these are lakshanas which we find in casualty. Many times we say that what is emergency in Ayurveda. So this is the thing that you see, that if you see a patient vomiting, you have to always cite that yes, vomiting due to food poisoning, we generally say, but is there something that is srotasa of his had a vyadha of? Vyadha means a trauma. Not always it's a physical trauma with the external factor. Sometimes that might be a manasik hetu also, manas hetu, vyadha also. So sharir and manas, they go hand in hand. If there is a trauma on the manas also, that also can show lakshanas of such a kind of kampa. Too much of krodha may create kampa in a person. That is also sroto vyadha of the manas hetu. Similarly, there can be some diseases which do internally create dosha prakopa, and due to which there might be sroto vyadha. Similarly, for some, if a person consumes some visha or poisons, that can also create sroto vyadha. So sroto vyadha, creation of sroto vyadha, is the first concept for you to understand about emergencies in Ayurveda. So here you see, if we have these all kinds of lakshanas of Moha, Kampa, Admana, Vami, Jwara, Pralapa, Shula, Vidmutra Rodha, or Marana. You have to contribute all these, saying that these are lakshanas of fatality in Ayurveda, emergency in Ayurveda, and here first-hand treatment can be given of Sroto Chikitsa. Understanding which Srotosa the Vyadha has been done, similar treatments are decided. Let's go further. Sroto Viddomato Vaidya Pratyakshaya Prasade Udruta Shalyam Yatnena Sadhyakshata Vidanata. Now the next part makes the previous sutra more explicit, explaining about these are all about more about Shalya Chikitsa. Sroto Vida Vaidya who understands Sroto are best can understand how to protect them also. And then if there is a trauma that is a particular, like for example, there is a sword or there is a stabbing done or there is a shell or a foreign body that is entangled into this avyadha or entangled into this wound, then removing that with precision of Shalya Chikitsa would help the patient to get life or to protect him. And that is what is explained in Kshatavidhan, that is in further Chikitsa of Shalya, that you can understand them more. Now, these are the concepts, like for example, Srotasa, the Dhamani Vyakaran, Dhamani Sharir, and Marma, that we are going to understand in part next, in the next chapter of Charak Sharir, Vagbhat Sharir, 4th Adhyay. He has explained about Marma. And these Marmas and Srotasas, if are hit with a particular trauma at a particular site, may sometimes turn into fatality. This is more important for us here to understand. Now, just to go into the concept of what are Srotasas. Many times we see that as it has been told, Yatha Pinde Tatha Brahmande, the Loka Purush Siddhanta. At that time, maybe telecommunication word wasn't there. Otherwise, they would have gone into details explaining about Yatha telecommunication bhavet, similarly of that kind. So, for example, if a single digit is missing in a particular mobile number, that connection would not be valid. Or sometimes you walk outside a particular area and get a connectivity off, and you see, yes, I get the connectivity here, but this side of the building, I don't get the connectivity. So these are all telecommunications things, wireless telecommunications, which we accept now. But if the same thing, which has been explained into Srotasas years before, it has been think that anything that is applied on the feet of a person would help to give relaxation for the eyes of the patient. For example, if you are walking barefooted or on a path which is hot, then sometimes you will have problems with your eyes. That was explained. But since we don't find the anatomical communication and the direct nerves, and we tend to say that no, it doesn't exist at all. So this is more important. Things are there. It is not about just that we have to see and understand about it. We have to accept by its results or by the hitutva of it also, that you would understand in your course to go. So in the first year, just to keep yourself open, not to be rigidized about concepts, you have to understand that Srotasa are kind, that we have to understand the body as a whole, not to just divide it into muscles and origin and insertion. It is much above that. Similarly, there are different koshas: pranamay kosh, annamay kosh, manomay kosh, vijnanamay kosh, and annamay kosh, and all those things. So these are different koshas of the body. Pancha kosha is there. Similarly, we have to understand that there is a oceanic current of water below the current. So sometimes you see that there are oceanic currents of hot current and cold currents. On the sea above, you would see everything as an ocean, but below there would be different. So similarly in the body, there would be flow of a body, flow of a dhatu or flow of a fluid through a particular channel or particular system, but it would reach to its respective positions. And these all are the channels which would flow, allow everything to go from the body. So these are all important aspects. Similarly, of the Srotas Mula, there the Prabhavasthana, or the Prabhavasthana what we see somewhere deep into the body is there Sanchay also. So all these concepts to be kept open, all these pictures are just to make you understand that you have to keep your vision more open to understand the basic concepts about Srotasa Vijnana. Right. Now here I would just take a glimpse of again of what Charak Vimansan has told. He has explained that Tatra Pranava Srotasam Hrudayam Moolam Dashashadamanya. If there is Vikruti in that, what would happen? Similarly, that there would be Atimanda. If there is some Vikruti of Pranavasrutas, then that is Ati Srushta, Ati Baddha, Kupitam, Alpalpa Bhikshnam, Sashabdashulam, Uchvasantam, Dushta, Pranavaya Srutase, Dushtani, Pradushtani, Iti Vidya. Now, while explaining about, there is explanation of Shwasa as a different Vyadhi, Kasa as a different Vyadhi, Ruchula as a different Vyadhi. But again, Pranavasrutasa and Moolasthana as Hruday, there could be something that would happen with this Rotasa, where there would be some flow in the body or the air going into the body, which would be Ati Srushta, that it would be going very fast, Ati Baddha, it would be going very slow. There would be something that is going with Kupita or Alpalpam or Abhikshnan or Sashabdashulam. These are qualities of Uchvasan, that is the Shwasan of a Rugna. So these are different ranges of the Shwasan. Similarly, Udakvanam Srotasam. And all these things like Prana Srotas, Udakva Srotas, Annava Srotas, then Rasava Srotas, all these Srotas are their Dushti Vijnana. What are the Lakshan once they get distorted or they get Kupita are explained, and their Moolasthānas are explained within the body. So this is all that we are going to be learning into. Similarly, in Sushrut, it has been explained. These are the Pranava Srotas, the Annava Srotas, their Moolasthana, as I was explaining before. And it is explained that Pranava Srutasam Hrudaya Moola Mahasrutasasya. And these are the Vyadhis, that Kshaya, Rauksha, Pipasa, Kshudha, Akshudha, Vyayama. And these are the Hitus, what the Pranava Srutasa will get Dushta. And then everything what would be seen in Pranava is similar to that is shown in Shwasa Chikitsa. That is what has been explained in Sharir in one-liner form. I have just mentioned it all over here just for your references. Right. Now here we would just take a glimpse of what are the Moolasthānas explained in Charak, Sushruta and Vagpata. Now Charak, as I explained, Pranavasrutam Hrudaya Moolam Mahasrutasasya. Similarly, Udakva, Talu Moolam Klomasya. For if you in the very first lecture or very beginning of it, it's just for you to have an idea that this is what is explained in Sharir. For example, if you get a question of 10 marks and you have to explain about what is Srotasa. Now this is what today's lecture would be introduction to this. And after maybe on the in the third prox of yours, you would also get detailed explanation of Srotasa. Then maybe you would it's necessary for you to go into the Tika and understand what are the different opinions of everyone. But for the initials, this could be enough that what is Srotasa made for, what are how are Srotasas made from, what is their function, then what are the Hetus of Dushti, and which are the types of Srotasa according to Charak, Sushruta and Bhagavad. Just a basics of it I am trying to give you. Now here Annava Srotasa Amashay Moolam Vamam Cha Parshvam Rasava Srutasam Hrudayam Moolam Dashashadamanya Raktava Srutasam Yakrut Moolam Plihascha Mausamalam Vahanam Srutasam Snayu Moolam Twakcha. So Meda Vrukko Vapavahumcha Asthi Medo Moolam Jaghanamcha Majja Asthi Moolam Sandhayascha Shukro Vrushana Moolam Shefascha Mutro Basti Moolam Vrushanavcha Purusha Pakvashay Moolam Gudascha and Svedo Medo Mulam Lomopupasha. Now this is the definition of Charak. He has explained 13 Srutasa and their Mulastan. Sushruta, little bit wherever it is in red or in different, is to highlight what he has to say different. Pranavahamnam Srutasam Rudaya Mulam Rasavahinasya Dhamanya. Udakvahalam Talu Mulam Klomascha is the same. Annavahanam Annavaha Srutasa Amashay Mulam Annavahini Dhamanya. And here it is Vamam Chapashvam. Rasavahanam Srutasam Rudaya Mulam Rasavahinasya Dhamanya. Here it is just Dashasya Dhamanya. Raktavanam Srutasam Yakrutpulinam Plihascha, same, and an explanation about the Dhamani Sharir, Raktavahi Dhamanya. Addition. Maunsavanam Srutasam Snayu Mulam Tvakcha is in Charaka, and Snayu Mulam Tvak and Raktavahi Dhamanya. Then Medovanam Srutasam Kati Mulam Vrukkocha, and here it is explained of Vrukko Mulam Vapavahanamcha. So now the kidneys especially are the Mulasthana. What we see Vrukka is just, or we label as kidney, is just a structural part. But the functional part, we have to understand that it is the Mulasthana of Medavasrutasa. And according to both Charak and Sruta, and also the Kati. Now Kati here, again, once if you are asked about, if someone in anatomy you are asked about what is the importance of sacrum, then you have to go into the details, understanding it is Kati. And Ayurved Sharir, you can make details about the same, saying that it is Sthana of Medavasrutas. Then it is also Sthana of Avalambak Kapha. Then so on and so on. We have to go. Similarly, Shukra is a Mulasthana. It's Vrushana and Sthana, Basti and Medrasha, Mutra, Purisha, Pakvashaya, Gudasha. Here is an important addition, Artav and Garbhashaya, Vahinasya, Dhamanya, according to Sushruta. So these are the, here he says that Asthiva Srutasa being is Antarbhuta into the same of it, and so he hasn't explained about, Sushrut has skipped about Asthi and Majja as the Srutasa, and so he has made and added up as Artava Srutas, making the concept to 11 Srutas. And Vagbhata, Prana, Udaka, Anna, Rasa, Rakta, Maus, Meda again, Vrukko, Mausasya, Majjavanam Srutusam, Parvo Mulam, Asthinisha, and addition, Shukravanam Srutusam, everything, Stano, Mushkam, Majjascha. Here is an addition, here it has been made. So this chart, you may just take a screenshot of it or keep with you. It would be important for you to get a glimpse. Similarly, you can get it in your texts also. Yeah. With a brief understanding of Srutasa in an hour or so, we would just run ahead for the basic concept of Agni. Agni, after understanding, say these are the sutras of Vagbhata. Annasya Pakta Pittantu Pachakakhyam Purerita Dosha Dhatu Maladinam Ushmit Yatraya Shasanam. Now it is Annasya Pakta Pittantu. The concept which does the pachana of Anna is called Pitta. It is also called Pachakakhyam Purorita. It is also known as Pachak Pitta. And this is important because it holds the strength or the health or everything, that is dosha dhatu maladinam. Everything is done or hold or it's controlled by the Ushma Sasan, or this Agni does the functioning of conversion of any bhav padartha into dosha, dhatu, mala, etc. So this is how Agni is important in the body, because it is Ushma, it is the Ushma which holds the strength of everything, and that is important. So Agni is an important factor. This is an, you call it as fire, you call it as health, you call it the fire in the belly, whatsoever. You don't see it actually what it's shown in the picture, but you have to understand that it's Ushma is the important factor what holds for the strength of dosh dhatu mala adina. तदधिष्ठानम अन्नस्य ग्रहणात् ग्रहणी मता सैव धन्वंतरी मला पित्ता कला पित्ता धरावया. Now what is this Agni? Where does it stay? It stays, it's adhisthana, tad adhishthana annasya grahanat grahani mata. So annasya grahanat grahani mata. What happens that the grahani or the small intestine, to be just as a translation, holds the anna, and so since it does the grahana, it is called as grahani mataha. And similarly, grahani is called, according to Charaka, Sushruta, is called as pitta dharakala. So pitta dharakala is the same as that is grahani, and it is important to hold the agni, and the agni is important for the normal functioning of dosha dhatu mala. Now, what is the importance of agni, or how important is agni? These are the markers according to Vagbhata, or the same according to Charak also, of understanding of good agni in a person. That is ayuhu. This shlok is very important. Ayur arogya viryojo bhuta dhatvagni pushtaye sthita pakvashaya dware bhukta margar galevasaha. So ayuhu, life. Now, how do we judge life? That upon the concept of birth and the interval between the birth and the death, is that ayu? Yeah, that is the interval, that is the period. But the quality of ayu, how is the ayu? He is healthy, he is unhealthy, how healthy he is, the criteria of being healthy. So the concept of good ayu is dependent upon having good agni. Arogya, nirogi avastha, रोग से रहित शरीर is arogya. That is when so this is again dependent upon agni. Virya, that is the strength of the body. Oja, we call it as the aura. And bhuta dhatu agni. So all the pancha dhatu agnis, all the dhatu agnis, and the pancha mahabhutik agni and the dhatu agnis, all are nourished upon the agni of an individual, that is the pachak agni. And how is it done? Sthita pakvashaya dware bhukta margar galevasa. This agni stays within the grahani, and it works as a security guard, or as a checkpoint, or as an immigration center. That it does the scrutiny of whatever food that is taken inside. It digests it well, and once it is digested, then it is sent ahead into the nourishment factor, that is the sara, and the kitta bhaga, that is the mala. So this whole process of taking of food, grahana, then digesting it to the body's soluble parts or transformation, and then transforming and differentiating them into nourished and waste part. All these functions are done under the concept of are done into grahani, and so it holds the process by whole of the digestion, and so it is called as argala. Argala is a concept in we see in many forts. The big wall, the fort has fortresses. It has walls all sides, and one door, whichever is there, is protected by a big wooden block from inside, and that is called as the argala. And this grahani is the argala of the intestine, and that is how it is stored. So bhuktam amashay rudhva savipacche nayateda balavatte balatvannam amameyo miyunchati. So what does, if this agni or this grahani, which the grahani means agni and agni means grahani, so it holds the food which is taken by the amashaya rudhva, and then it digests it and then takes down. But if the agni or grahani is balavan, then it would digest it. But it is abala, then it would just take the agni, take the anna as the ama, and amam eva vimunchati. It happens that it would just throw out the ama by the stools, and this is what is going to happen. So the strength of the agni or the strength of the grahani would decide upon good digestion or ama digestion of the individual. Now, grahanyam balam agni hi sarpachapi grahani bala dushito agnevato dushta grahani rogakarini. Now it is upon the grahani's bala and the agni that they are grahani bala. Agni and Grihani, their bala of each other is the bala of an individual. And if that Grihani is having dushti, this would be, Grihani would be Roga Karani, and that would create disease. That is important. So Agni is strength. Agni is an important factor for understanding the strength of an individual. And so the Chikitsa of Ayurveda is all concentrated upon the concept of Agni. So all activities, maybe it is Swasthavritta, maybe it is Vyadhi, all things of Chikitsa and to be healthy are confined to this very concept of Agni according to Ayurveda. So everything that you do in the Dinacharya, that you Brahmi Muhurta Uttishtet, Swastho Rakshartham Ayusha, and all these things, like even the throwing out of the stools at proper time is also going to go good to make your Agni. And till the concept that you become Nisha Swasti, that till the night time, the activities that you do, all are going to be contributing to having a good Agni according to Ayurveda. And if that is done by every individual to keep his Agni Rakshit, then he is Swastha. Now next concept about Anna Pachana, Yadannam Deha Dhatu Balavarnagdi Poshanam, Tatragnir Heturaharo, Nayya Pakva Dayorasaha. Now this is what is, yet if the Agni digests, the Anna taken is digested good, then Deha Dhatu, Oja, Bala, Varna, Adi Poshana is done. So Anna is the important factor, that the Anna itself is the important key factor to give nourishment to the Deha, to the Dhatu, to the Oja, to the Bala, to the Varna. Now I don't think so that you need a translation for all these concepts. Now this is Paribhasha, that you always, when you start speaking about Ayurveda, you should speak in its language. You could have translation for all words, but that translation won't be that meaning. For example, every person would have a nickname at his house. Okay. When we make a division in the class, we generally say that these are students of first year. These are girls, these are boys. These are girls from a particular school, college previously. So there can be again distinguishing. But when we speak in terms of students of Ayurveda, then there would be first year students of Ayurveda, second year students of Ayurveda similarly. So as you go into the first class, then the second class, and as your days in studenthood go ahead, we would be expecting you, one would be expecting that you should be speaking, or you should be acquainted with the words of Ayurveda, or the synonyms of Ayurveda, or the paribhasha of Ayurveda. So we have to understand that these concepts, that Deha, composite factor, Dhatu, altogether, Oja as the strength of the body, Bala, that is the strength of the individual, Oja is the Sarata of all Dhatu, Bala, Varna, Adi portion is done by Anna. And so Anna is and the digestion of it is done only if the Agni is good. So Agni is the Hetuhu for a healthy person, and if it is apakwa, then all the front, that the rasadi dhatus, rasa, rakta, mansa, meda, they all will be apakwa. So if pakwa ahara rasa is maintained, it would create good health. Then annam kale abhyavarutam koshte prana nilarhuta dravair vibhinna sangata nitam snehena mardavam. This is we would go into the pachana of an individual. So first of all, this is avasthapaka. So if anne kale abhyavarutam, so if we have seen in the Matra Shiti Adhyay, you will be learning in the 8th chapter of yours, that which is the right time to consume food. When we have good appetite, when Kshuddho Upagamaha, when we feel appetite, then there is a Vishuddha Udgara and all these things, and you consume food. This is Kalavat Abhyavaruta Anna. So timely taken food will go into the Koshtha with prana and anila. So prana and anila would take the food into the concept, into the digestive system, and there would be dravair vibhinna sangata nitam snehena mardavam. And then what would happen would be the first avasthapak. This is similarly, it is like sandukshita samanena pachatyama shayasthita Audarya Agnir Yatha Bahya Sthalistha Toya Tandulam. Now this is like a similar concept. Sthalistha Toya Tandulam means in a pot, if we take toya, water, and tandula, that is rice, and we boil it. Yatha Audarya Agnir Yatha Bahya. Like a similarly Agni that is being boiled here, this rice starts boiling. This is what would happen. Similarly, in the first pak or digestion of the system, so similarly here you would see that in Amashaya, when Kale Abhyavarutam, when that food is taken at right time, it is taken into the process of digestion by the prana and anila, and there is the different drava. They would make the sanghata, that is the composite food, they would break it down into small parts with sneha of the body, and this is what is going to happen, that it would be with the amashaya, that as the sthalistha toya tandula is there, similarly in the amashaya this process of digestion starts, and this is the fena udgama adavriya, what would happen. Adav shadrasa madpanna madhura bhutam irayat feni bhutam kafam. So Adav, the first shadrasa, whatever shadrasatmak ahar you have taken, here it would be transformed into madhuri bhutatva, like the parthiv and jaliya mahabhuta sanghata is done, and then kafa feni bhutam kafam udiryate would be happening. Yataha vidhayatan. Later, after this, it would go to vidhayata, and it would become amlata jatam. Here would be the second avastapa, where it would go into the grahani. Here it would become, here there would be vidaya that would happen, and there would be amlata, that is going to acidic, it would going to become, and pittam amashayat purya chaumanam chutam punah. And here there would be pitta. Similarly, here it is kapha udiryate, here it is pitta udiran. So it is the second avastapa which gets into vidahata, and here pitta udiran happens, and tam chutam punaha, and after that it goes further. Agninam shoshitam pakvam pindita katumarutaha. And here now what happens into the tritiya avastapa, that the agni does the shoshana of the purisha, and then the katu maruta, here it is madhura kapha, here it is amlata pitta, and here it is katu maruta. This katu maruta is elaborated. So this is what is happening in the three avasthapas. This would take place into the pakvashaya of an individual. So this is what is going to happen in the three avasthapas. Pratham avasthapak happening the madhuri bhutam kafam is udiran. Then Dvitiya avasthapak in the grahani, that is pittam is amlata pittam, that is udiran, and in Tritiya avasthapak, that is due to the shoshana or of the vayu, pinditam of the purisha is happening, and this katu maruta is elaborated in this. So this is the concept of then is the concept of bhuta dhatu agni, Panchabhutak Agni, then Bhoma Pagne Vayava, Panchoshmana Sanavasa, Panchahara Gunan Swanswan, Parthivadin Pachantanum, Yathaswam Tenja Pushnati, Pakwam Bhutaguna Pratak, Parthivanena, Shesha Sheshamsha Dehana. Now, along with this, as the Shadrasa are digested into the three avasthapas, a simultaneous digestion of the Bhautik Agni takes place. Every Mahabhuta digests its own part from the Panchabhutik Guna Ahara that we have consumed, and this is what, and it is going to be nutriting the body. Now, there further, the Sara Kitta Bhag, Kitta Sarasya Tat Pakvam, Annam Sambhavati Dvidha. Anna is divided into two parts, that is Kitta and Sara. Tatracham Kittam Annase Mutram Vidyat Ghanam Shakta. And of that, the Acha, that is a clear part of the watery part, that is Drava, is the Mutra, and Ghana part, that is the Shakrut. And Sarastu Saptabhir Bhuto Bhuyo Yathaswam Panchate Agnibhihi. And the Sara part is taken by the Sapta Dhatu Agni by one, Rasa, Rakta, Mons, Med, Asthi, Majja, and Shukra, and they would be nutriting them. रसाद रक्तम ततो मांसम मांसाद मेदम मेदोस ततो स्थित अचनो मज्जा तथा शुक्रम शुक्रात गर्भ पजायते. This is the dhatu utpatti kram, that is the sukshma pajan. Rasad raktam, from rasa rakta is them, then raktat mausam, mausat medaha, medat astihi, atsno majjaha, tata shukram, and shukra is then garbhat pachayate. Now here there are the dhatusha krama. Kafat pit kafa pittam malakheshu prasvedo nakaromacha sneyakshitvam vishamojo dhatunam kramashomalam. Now this is the importance of Vagbhat Sutra, Vagbhat Sharir third Adhyay. Chronologically, if you learn one by one, it is a composite of 117 or 120 sutra in all, which is completely the syllabus of yours, Sharir and Rachana. So if you by heart this Adhyay also, or at least have a very good study of this Adhyay, then you understand the basic concepts very well. So these are the malas of every dhatu. So rasa kafa, rasamala kafa, pitta mausam, rasamala kafa, rakta pittam. Then mausamala is prasveda, medamala is sneha, akshi sneha, asnamala is akshi twamala sneha, atsno majjaha, atsno kafama pitta, kafa pitta malakheshu prasvedo nakaromacha, nakaroma is asti, and majja is sneha, akshi sneha, twakaroma, and shukrat mala is oja. And this is how every dhatu has its mala, has been explained in the next sutra as well. Prasada kitta dhatunam pakadeva ghanat pasadeva dvidachada parasparopa samstanta dhatu sneha parapara. Now every dhatu has prasada and kitta, and the good part of it would get good prasada and good upadhatu of it, and this parasparopa samstamba, they nourish each other. So the dhatu is digested, is going to nourish the next dhatu also, and the kitta dhatu also. So their nourishment is again dependent upon the dhatu agni. Now how is the how do the dhatu utpanna period is decided? Kechit ahoratra shadratat arepicha षड्रातात परे परे मासेने अति शुक्रत्वम अन्न पाक क्रमादिभी संतता भोज्य धातुना परिवृत्तस्तु चक्रवत वृषादीनि प्रभावेन सद्य शुक्रादि कुर्वते प्राय करोते होरात्रात कर्मादन्यत अपि भेषजम. Sometimes it happens that every dhatu would nourish the second. So sometimes it happens that a digested food would take at least a month from anna to become shukra. So it is upon every dhatu would be given a particular period of 7 days, 3 days, 5 days, depending upon its necessity. And accordingly, sometimes it would happen that you take anna rasa and shukra would be would be prepared on the 30th day. But sometimes it happens that due to the need of the body, it would happen for example, that Vrushadi Aushadi. So medicines which are which improvise Shukra, they would give immediate Sadhya Shukra Payaha. Similarly, the Vrushadini Prabhavena Sadhya Shukra Pravartate. So sometimes it is done in Ahoratra. So how is this concept explained in the text? That it is upon, so there are 3 types of Nyaya. First is the Kshira Dadhi Nyaya, that milk turning to curd and turning to grita. Similarly, Kshira to Dadhi is Kshira Dadhi Nyaya. It may take 1 night, 1/4 night also. There is something like a Kedar Kulya Nyaya. So like a river that has different tributaries and that gives water or nourishment. Similarly, the Kedar Kulya Nyaya. And there is also Khale Kapot Nyaya. Khale is a place, that is the khala, or the place where the grains are stored in the field, and kapota are the different birds that would carry the nourishment to its nest. So different laws would be applicable as per the need of the body. So it is not that always particularly this should be the rule. One of these rules would be applicable in the utpatti of dhatu, and that is explained. So now we just go. These are the parts of it. And again, in further course, he has explained about Agni and its importance. Then there are three types of bala: Sahaja, Kalajam, Yukti, Deha bala, Yukti. These are Trividha bala, of which Sahaja, Sattva Sharirotham, Prakrutam, Sahajam balam. Sahaja bala is Sattva Sharirotha bala, that is Prakruta bala. Kalaja bala is Vayaskruta bala, that you can acquire with the age, and Yukti bala is Ahara Vihara Janitam, Tathor Jaskara Yogajam. So these are different. Trividha balas are there: Sahajam, Kalajam, Yuktim. And this again, that a person will inherit some Sahaja bala right from his birth. According to the age, according to the Rutu, according to the Avastha, he would have Kalaja bala, and he can always generate Yuktija bala. That is important. Now, Desha are also of two types. Desh where there is Alpa Vari Druma, that there is less of water, less of plants. That is Jangala, is Alpa Rogadaha. So Anupa, it is Viparit to Jangala, which is ample of water and ample of plants and kingdoms. And there is Sadharana, which has a balance of all these. So Deshas are three types again: Jangala, Anup, and Sadharana. And this is the Anjali Pramana of the constituents of the body part. And this sutra is to be by hearted. Majjameta Vasa Mutra, Pitta Shleshma Mutra, Pitta Shleshma Shakurun Tesru, Raso Jalasya Deasmin, Eke Anjali Varditam. Madhyameda Vasa Mutra, Pitta Shleshma Shakrut and Asru. Shakurun Tesru, Raso Jalam cha Dehasmin, Rasa Jala and Deha, everyone one Anjali, ek Anjali Varditam. So this can be a chart that you can by heart, and this sutra in a simple lining would help you to by heart everything. So with this, I think so we can stop over here, and if there are any questions, we can certainly go for that. Yeah. So everyone, I would now keep the course open for students to ask any questions if they have, and we can answer them one by one. Because this is a concept of Srotasa and Agni are the basic concepts that need to be rectified, clarified, and to be by hearted well. And it is a process. It is not that in a single term or in 1 year that you would know everything. As a noun, as you go into next year of a Nidan and then about Chikitsa, you would get into the basic concepts and understand more and more about Srotasa. So if you have any questions, we can certainly go ahead. Or you can put your questions in the chat box if you, or you can raise your hands and we can go ahead with the questions.
So one question is there in chat box.
Yeah.
Should I read it?
Mm, what happens to the time needed for portion of dhatu during a disease? Say Pandu. Yeah. Basically, it is like when there is in Pandu itself, it is Pitta that is being aggravated, and so the Dhatu Poshan Krama itself is it remains in Amas Avastha, that the Apachita Anna or everything. So here the time period is not the only thing, but the Guna Vishesh is more important. That it remains leaner without the Pitta, it remains leaner into the Srotasas for a longer period, and then this again creates armor, and the whole process again goes into vidagdhata. So it is not only that a particular time frame that we have to understand, it is again upon the guna vishesh also, that to a particular even if it takes longer, but if the digestion is done well, or the armor is thrown out of the body, then it is not an issue. Otherwise this is always going to be a problem. So it is not particularly with what you could say time frame only. It has to be understood that it is the guna vishesh that is also important, right? Yeah, I would just go to the next question. You can give some example of the diseases caused by different type of srotas of found maximum today's area that should be feared of. Right. Srotodushti is the basic thing that these students would be getting into. I was today's lecture. I wasn't elaborating much upon the Srotodushti Lakshanas. Every Srota, sir, just for them to get the more details about it. For example, like Rasava Srotodushti is the basic what you see in many disorders, and rasa, anna, prana are the diseases which are the srotasas, which are basically having some major issues of indigestion and what we treat in today's issue. For example, like a disease of Pandu, which is a vyadhi of rasava srotas, especially here, and it is due to the vidagdha pitta only. So the Agni and the Ushma not doing good work of it and creating heaviness and Vyadhi, Chirakari Vyadhi or a prolonged disease illness of Pandu. So you would see that Agni Mandya in the changed era also, due to the sedentary lifestyle, what has happened, most of the diseases would come under Sthira Vyadhi or Chirakari Vyadhi, not showing any aggressive lakshanas, but the Dhatu strength or the Dhatu Bala being very weak, they are susceptible to get ill again and again. So in today's era, what is important for us to understand that the sedentary lifestyle has been a major cause of diseases of Agni Bandya, which is going to contribute to making more illnesses of Kapha Prakopa doshas only. Yeah. Anything this like this giving examples for these students about Sroto Dushti, we would need maybe for in the next period or course to come that we can explicitly. Otherwise, this would as it is, it might have created some ajirana, but this shouldn't aggravate that. That is to be kept in. Any more questions? If we have, we can. Otherwise, you can also post them on the group that is prepared especially by Tushar sir on the WhatsApp group, and answers would be given there. Hopefully, what I was trying to introduce you in the throughout the course of lecture was that it just to give you an basic bird eye view about our basic view about what is Srotasa and what is Agni and what is digestion. You may read more, you may go through the text for references, because understanding the Samhitas, you may get more about yourself. And if that is done well, then I think so your concepts about Agni, Srotasa would be going good. As you go into the third term also, then you would understand about more about Srotasa. And then second year itself, when you understand Nidana, Srotasa would be the very important part. So this is introduction for you to know about Srotasa, and I think so we have just tried our best and to go through it. If you have any queries, you are always welcome. Okay. With this, I think so we can we can stop the schedule, and we can retire. Thank you for your patient hearing, and your responses and are always welcome. Yeah. Tushar sir, shall we take a
Thanks a
lead?
lot, sir. Yeah, thanks a lot, sir, for your very fantastic guidance and your experience. We will be moving ahead with these kind of activities. So, if there is no question, uh, one question arose there, sir. So, we should wait for that question.
Yeah, a good question. Basically, it is like how acharyas have mentioned them. Basically, for them, it was like uh, that is why they were so called as aptas, no? And uh, they had a vision of Trikala, and more important is not about just having a vision of Trikala. The the day before, when Prasad sir was explaining that the basic of Ayurveda, we have to understand the basic of other darshanas too. The way to understand the Bhautik Shastra, or the way to understand the Sharir, what we should know with the Panchamahabhutas well, and the darshanas, and the concepts were these concepts were very different. And they didn't we will also arrange a lecture of Vaidya Bavdekar sir. We are in process of him to understand that how Ayurveda is a darshan. So it is not that Ayurveda was just like there were different Sankhya, there were Jaina, there were other darshanas, and then someone of Ayurveda was sitting there and he just jotted down things from their darshana and made Ayurveda as a darshan. No, it was a forum where there were different people working practically with different sciences. Suppose there was someone working in kala, like nritya, or someone working in astrology, and someone working in Ayurveda, and they had different concepts about each other. So once that is the platform, then it is easier to understand, to apply the concepts of other shastra into this. But just with today's background of anatomy and today's background of physics, chemistry, biology, to understand this is quite going to be a different thing. So these acharyas were in a different era. They had practical approaches. They were Vaidyas, and they had they're going into their nirvana, and they had this stita prajnatva, and that is why, since they were aptas, they could visualize such and explain it to us. Okay. Yeah, here is one more question. Your weekly consumption of fast food, fried food, will lead to Raktadushti. Yes. Vidahi annanna panani snigdoshnani dravanicha. That is again a hetu that is going to happen. But again, for students, I would be very specific that it is not that everything that is fast food, everything that is junk food, or everything what is all that is dosha prakopak. More important is we have to understand that Agni needs to be healthy. So Agni, yascha aharascha viharascha. So ahara and vihar, both factors are to be kept in mind to keep your Agni good, that can digest everything. And if the food is of good quality, of course it is Panchabhautik, and your Agni is good, it would digest into Sharir Upyogi Panchabhautikatva. So everything that is a boon of fast food isn't always Raktadushtikar, but which is spicy, which is too cold, which is too hot, which is not, which is viruddha. All these concepts, any particular thing, like for example, if we say cheese, or if we say like pasta, and then we have to understand the what would be the final outcome of it. So whether it this concept, and so these new things, for example, like maybe it is cheese or anything, we have to understand that what effect does it have upon the mala, mutra, and the sleep of an individual. And if the mala, mutra, sleep, its energy, everything is balanced well for a longer period, then it is it can be labeled what qualities it does it have, whether it is madhur vipaki, whether it is amla vipaki or katu vipaki, or whether it is visha or whether it is healthy. All these things to be understood. So it is not just a particular thing that all fast foods would be and fried food, but yes, probably it has a high thing. And again, a person who is having a very good agni, who is swastha, who is snigdashina, who takes good exercise, for him the same food won't be that much dosha prakop if taken regularly. But of course, nitya abhyasa of kshira dadhi and nitya vyayama is always healthier as compared to what you have done. Right. Fine. Any more questions? We can go ahead. Yeah, thank you. I think that we can end the session now with the permission of Tushar sir and with the respected seniors who have got in also, and for all the students who have been patiently hearing. Right. Thank you, one and all. Yeah.
Thank you,
We
sir.
end it today.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, everybody. We can now stop the session. Thank you.
Thank you.